Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. Vice President J.D. Vance delivers remarks on the economy in Pennsylvania, his message to Americans as the Trump administration works on affordability. Congress today holding a closed-door session with President Trump's top cabinet officials. The questions lawmakers have for the secretaries as the U.S. military keeps targeting drug boats in the Caribbean. President Trump is suing the BBC for up to $10 billion over a selectively edited clip of his January 6th speech. The edit gave the false impression Trump had called for violence. The British government is reviewing the BBC's royal charter and suggests the BBC should strive for better accuracy. The suspect who killed 2 students and wounded 9 others at Brown University remains at large. The FBI is offering a reward of up to $50,000 for information. A foiled New Year's Eve bomb plot in the Los Angeles area. 4 people are now facing conspiracy charges. With the holiday season approaching and parents preparing for winter breaks with the kids, what are some of the ways of keeping kids busy and engaged without relying on devices? We bring you expert advice.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
And now to start off with some breaking news. President Trump is going to address the nation tomorrow night. He made the announcement on Truth Social moments ago. He said he will be speaking live from the White House at 9 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night. He added, quote, "I look forward to seeing you then. It has been a great year for our country and the best is yet to come." Vice President J.D. Vance in Pennsylvania today to deliver the administration's message on the economy. Here's Vance at a U-Line warehouse in Albertus, Pennsylvania.
We've got real money, real jobs, and real opportunity. What that means for the state of Pennsylvania is that in just the last 11 months, we're creating 60,000 good-paying jobs for Pennsylvania families, and we're bringing in, just in this one Commonwealth, $100 billion of new investment into this great place. That is real opportunity for the American people. That is real wage growth for the American people.
Vance promised more money in Americans' pockets this upcoming tax season. He said that under the Trump administration, Americans will have $1,000 more of take-home pay because of tax cuts, tax credits, and other policies. The vice president also touted the administration's efforts cutting drug prices and bringing investments into America. He said President Trump is making progress in driving down energy costs, and there's still progress to be made. The November jobs report is in. The U.S. job market delivered a modest surprise with employers adding 64,000 jobs. That topped expectations of 50,000. The unemployment rate edged up to 4.6%, slightly higher than the 4.5% forecast and up from September's 4.4%. The report was delayed due to data collection challenges following the government shutdown, which also prevented an October unemployment reading. Federal Reserve officials made their latest rate decision without this report. Markets now largely expect rates to remain unchanged at the Fed's next meeting in January. When asked about rising unemployment, National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett said that labor participation also rose.
How concerned are you the unemployment rate keeps rising?
Well, the other thing that rose was labor force participation. And I think that right now, I think for those two things to happen, probably what's going on is the 250,000 federal government workers who took the buyout are staying in the labor force and looking for work. And so we saw a big reduction, about 250,000 in federal employment. We saw an uptick in the unemployment rate, but we also saw an uptick a few months in a row of labor force participation. So I think those government workers are out there looking for jobs. And there's an academic literature that suggests that they'll be very successful at it because government workers tend to be very well qualified when they hit the private sector.
President Trump will nominate a new Federal Reserve chair soon. White House economic advisor Kevin Hassett, who is a top contender, spoke to reporters today.
The job of the Federal Reserve chair is to run the Federal Reserve independently. It's also the job of the Federal Reserve to be nonpartisan and to focus on monetary policy. And I think that one of the things that the president's been disappointed in is that the Fed has been quite partisan and, cutting rates right before an election, focusing so much on issues other than monetary policy. And so I think that it's very easy to conceive of someone from inside this building or that building going over there like Steve Myron is doing right now and doing a great job of being an independent Fed governor or chair.
Fed Chair Jerome Powell's term ends in May. Trump has been criticizing him for not lowering interest rates enough. The president has identified Hassett and Kevin Warsh, a former Fed governor, as leading contenders to replace Powell. Hassett brushed off concerns that he may be too close to Trump to chart an independent path at the central bank. He said the idea that being too close to the president disqualifies someone for any job doesn't make any sense to him. U.S. forces say they carried out strikes on 3 boats that were trafficking drugs. They said yesterday that 8 men were killed in the operation. The U.S. Southern Command said in a social media post the vessels were transiting along a known narco-trafficking route in the Eastern Pacific. It said the vessels were operated by designated terrorist organizations and that a joint task force conducted the strikes at the order of Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. The U.S. military has so far struck more than 20 vessels in the East Pacific and the Caribbean, killing at least 90 alleged narco-terrorists. And Congress continues investigating a September strike that hit a drug boat in the Caribbean. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and others briefed members of the House and the Senate today. Democratic senators say they were not shown the video during the briefing. Hegseth says it will be shown to the House and Senate Armed Services Committees tomorrow. He says the full video will not be released to the public. Hegseth made the comments after the Senate briefing. He said the footage is top secret and unedited. Speaking to reporters after the briefing, Montana Senator Tim Sheehy defended targeting drug boats using airstrikes instead of intercepting them.
If we don't drop a bomb and we decide to interdict, as is being said by many folks, we have an obligation to send a team to interdict. When we make that decision, you're putting our lives at risk. You're putting Americans' lives at risk. Just about a year and a half ago, you remember 2 SEALs were killed interdicting a vessel at night in the Red Sea. So when folks say, well, we should be interdicting, that's easy for you to say here in this building between 2 cups of cappuccinos. It's a lot harder to send that 24-year-old operator out there who's got a wife and kids.
The September strike killed 2 survivors after an initial hit, which took place just moments earlier. According to a Pentagon manual, orders to fire upon shipwrecked people would be clearly illegal. The Trump administration is targeting boats which it says smuggle deadly narcotics to Venezuela to the U.S. So far, the military destroyed more than 20 boats and killed almost 100 people. President Trump says the boats have to be targeted because the drugs on them could kill tens of thousands of Americans. But some argue that the U.S. is using military force against civilians who are committing crimes but aren't involved in a war. Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer says Congress still doesn't know what the goal of Trump's operation is. Schumer added that Congress wants to see the full video of the September strike. A bipartisan group of lawmakers is actively negotiating a plan to prevent a dramatic increase in health insurance costs for millions of Americans. NTD's Melina Weisskopf has the latest.
As the holiday recess is fast approaching, lawmakers are racing the clock to find a solution to expiring enhanced Obamacare subsidies.
A little over 2 weeks left to get this done. Right now, neither party has presented a plan that can get 60 votes.
After failed Senate votes on both the Democrat and Republican proposals last week, House leadership is now pushing for a plan of their own.
Lowering costs versus subsidies. We want to lower premiums for all Americans.
The subsidy was extended would cost American taxpayers $350 billion over the next 10 years.
The House Republican plan is likely to fall short of Democrat support needed in the Senate. So now centrist lawmakers from both parties are working to find a path forward that has a chance at becoming law. In the House, a discharge petition aims to force the Republican speaker's hand on a vote to extend Obamacare subsidies for around 2 years. The petition has nearly the 218 signatures needed to become active.
tens of millions of Americans are going to experience dramatically increased health insurance premiums because of the Republican refusal to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits.
If Hakeem Jeffries wanted to tell his members to go sign the discharge petition for Brian Fitzpatrick's bill, we could get this done immediately. But he's not doing that. And the reason he's not doing that is because he wants the issue rather than a solution.
And another bipartisan effort is underway in the Senate. A small group of Republicans and Democrats met behind closed doors last evening. They're negotiating a plan that includes a 2-year extension of the Obamacare tax credits that would also be coupled with other reforms to try to make the program less expensive for taxpayers, such as by creating income caps and rooting out fraud.
But if you address the fraud, and particularly you address the fact that the premiums being pushed, the policies being pushed have $6,000 deductibles. If we do that, I think there could be interest in a short-term extension. I think that could be the deal.
Now, these senators aim to give more details about their new proposal later this week, but even if it does get the bipartisan buy-in needed, it will be challenging, if not impossible, to get it through Congress until early January. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
And just a note, earlier today, House Speaker Mike Johnson said the House will not take a standalone vote this week on GOP centrists' push to extend and reform the COVID-era enhanced Obamacare subsidies. Meanwhile, President Trump filed a lawsuit seeking $10 billion in damages from the BBC. Joining us to discuss is Mike Leon, host of the Can We Please Talk podcast, and we have Tony Kinnett, national correspondent at the Daily Signal and host of the Tony Kinnett Cast radio show and podcast. So first of all, good to see you guys, as always. Tony, I'll start with you today. Now, the BBC is splicing two separate parts of President Trump's speech together on January 6, 2021. The walk to the Capitol line, right, with fight like hell while omitting the peacefully and patriotically part. Do you consider that at all defamation?
Yeah, in the editorial sense and in the journalistic world, that is defamation. When I'm writing an article and I want to bridge 2 points together that I think that someone has made, and then they are finishing a thought, you put an ellipses there, those magical 3 dots that our parents think are excellent punctuation on Facebook. And those are bridging those 2 particular thoughts together. And that ellipses is there so that I am not trying to insinuate that a quote was made that was not. The BBC didn't play, for example, maybe a whip pan effect in which the screen swipes to the left and then plays maybe a whoosh sound effect to indicate time has passed, and then concluding that thought later. They bridged those words together as though the President of the United States was finishing that thought. And to add insult to injury, which really gives a lot of weight to a defamation case per se in this instance, it was clear that the language that they cut out in the middle of those 2 particular statements or those 2 clauses in the sentence were going directly against the implication made by cutting the clips out. So in this instance, it does appear to be a pretty clear-cut case of defamation. And I agree with a lot of other legal experts on the left and right who have said it's probably best that BBC settles in this instance.
Okay, so Mike, what Tony described, did that harm Trump's reputation?
No, I think the day's events harmed Trump's reputation, but good afternoon to see you guys first and foremost. But let's go back to something Tony said there, because he is right about the editorial process. So, I work for the Legal Podcast Network as an anchor, deal a lot with trial attorneys. And one of the big topics when you're talking about this, especially claims of trying to prove what Tony was mentioning, what the president's alleging in this suit about defamation, is that the evidence that's going to be introduced is the unedited version of this, right? So if we see the unedited version full end to end, and to Tony's point, the president finishes a thought at the end of that sentence, and that's wiped out with no transitional, period, let's call it for lack of a better term, to show that this happened in this instance versus that happening in that instance. That's clear cut, like he just said. I think any lawyer that has done defamation, libel suits, slanders, et cetera, would say that's the first piece of evidence that we're going to ask for, is the entire sequence of the speech, and then we're going to show it in its entirety and what was intended versus what was actually played on BBC's airwaves. But in terms of there are other things that you could have criticized Trump about language-wise from that day, whether it be tweets leading up to it, whether it be other things that he said on that day, whether it be what Mark Meadows, what was said to him, what Kevin McCarthy was said to, and the reports from that. There are other things from that day. They didn't have to necessarily edit a video to make it sound like, or at least give the appearance of what they were trying to push from a narrative perspective.
Okay, Tony, your response to Mike saying that this did not harm his reputation, and what was President Trump's core rhetoric that day, his actions?
So a couple of things. First of all, I would disagree with Mike that the statement harming Trump's reputation, again, if they were just trying to report the truth, if there wasn't any kind of political motive to damage the president's reputation, airing this right before the 2024 November election, then they would have just used one of the other statements throughout the day, and then they would have run with it. But there was some clear editing in this case, which does bring into question motive and timing. And again, whether or not the president has earned a reputation or not on that day, which to answer the latter part of the question to Don, and then in second part to Mike here, yeah, I don't think that the president's behavior on that day was good whatsoever. I think that he was issuing a lot of complaints, that he was questioning a lot of things, some of which have come true now, some of which have not. Of course, there's also the massive scandal around Nancy Pelosi and the National Guard and whether or not this was or wasn't done. But in that instance, when an outlet like BBC chooses right before the election to cut and edit footage in order to paint something extra, like they're really going to nail it home so there's no other possible conclusion that you could draw, that gets into the putting your hand artificially on the scale in a way that isn't legal, at least with the BBC's licenses to exist as a corporation also here in the United States. And what does that mean? The president was wonderful and smelled of roses on January 6th? No, absolutely not. That's a separate issue.
Okay, Mike, the lawsuit accuses the BBC of trying to influence the 2024 election. Your comments on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, again, I think this is something BBC's lawyers would try to prove in court, and maybe it's to the detriment of what their viewership is in the marketplace, because I could tell you just right now, just if you look at Adweek's ratings, where BBC News would rank with respect to the top, let's say, 25 networks out there, from News Nation, Fox News, MSNBC, MS Now, Newsmax, OAN. I think BBC is further down the list, right? Because of the appearance, right? It's from England. Like, their network is far better reach over in London. So I think that's something that their lawyers would potentially argue in court, whether or not it tried to influence the 2024 election. Again, the biggest question is, what was the narrative that was trying to be formed that day by the executive producers, senior producers, whatever it is that were working on the show? I got to be honest, I don't know much about the suit other than the astronomical figure and what the president is alleging and what Tony said about the splicing of the video. Just from hearing those three things, I mean, it sounds to me like this is a clear-cut case where BBC's lawyers would want to settle, to Tony's point, because, again, if he said X, Y, Z, and to what Tony said about punctuation, the ellipses, if there was nothing there or any type of white or white flash or anything like that to signify that this was a later portion of the speech, then they are dead to rights in essence, at least from the television term. Could a lawyer maybe spin that in a different way? Maybe. I don't know what crafty legal argument would be made. But from an editor's standpoint, from a producer standpoint, as somebody who's been at those networks, we would be dead to rights, because we know that we tried to form this to shape a narrative. So maybe there is something under all of it that it's better for them to settle, because they know that the long form video, the unedited version of this video, will show that they had crafted a narrative that was trying to harm the president. But that's for, obviously the courts to decide.
Okay, Tony, what are your comments? I'm curious. The BBC says the documentary wasn't broadcast in the U.S. So is it influencing the 2024 U.S. presidential election?
Yeah, great question. And I think this also goes, I can answer also Mike's question as to their viewership and their reach. BBC has a reputation of being a decent third-party source. If I'm going to compile resources for a show, then I might also, in addition to right-wing and left-wing sources, some might pull in a BBC or other outside sources, which are considered to be more sterile in their coverage of certain issues. And so the BBC's documentary, which they're claiming wasn't aired in the United States, it was posted online. It was posted to their social media, which do, in fact, air in U.S. markets. It's a very interesting question of jurisdiction If I, over in my country, try to maybe shift the balance of power in a particular political election, and then someone sees it from another jurisdiction, even if it's not on FCC regulated spectrum air, does that count? That's a great question, but notice I don't think the BBC is being charged with election interference in this particular lawsuit or that being implicated. It's about defamation of character. And again, that's once you go back to, well, why was the clip cut? And really the harshest nail in the coffin here is that the clips being played side by side are so short on social media that you can witness it firsthand. And that's going to make this defamation suit far worse. Do I think they were trying to interfere? Yeah, we have some internal conversations and emails from BBC which allege so. But I think that more so was the trying to paint those United States people in their elections and electing a rogue like Donald Trump terrible. I think that's probably more likely.
Okay, so Mike, if you agree with Tony's point that this is perhaps journalistic malpractice, and the president bring this lawsuit, do you consider that as holding the BBC accountable?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's suing everybody. We've talked about this with the New York Times thing when we had that piece a few months ago. So he's within his right to sue whatever outlets. I mean, again, each is a case-by-case determination, right? Again, I was just talking to a lawyer literally 20 minutes ago that said something similar to me about case-by-case basis. If you look at the ABC News, right, that was something that George Stephanopoulos said on air that was not actually proven in the court case in the civil documents, right? Which is why it's important to kind of regurgitate what actually is word for word, which is why you have editors and why you have producers, you know, whether it be segment producers, associate producers. It's got to go through a fine-tooth comb so you don't end up in litigation like this, right? Or being sued by the president of the United States. So, you know, when you look at it like that, each one has its own case, right, and trajectory. So the New York Times one, again, same thing, a little bit different there. The BBC one, is it holding them accountable? I mean, I think he's trying to hold all media accountable, but I would give the side eye on where we differ on the accountability part of this. And again, to Tony's point, I think the better question is, and I don't know if it'll be talked about in the trial, is that BBC didn't air. I didn't know that fact, Don, that you said that they didn't air it here domestically, but it does air on social media, which obviously social media is not geo-gated. So that means I could watch it on the social media platforms if I do live in the U.S. So did that technically cause him harm because people in the U.S. consumed it, even though it wasn't available online? I don't know. That's all for the courts to decide. We'll see what the crafty legal arguments is. But I do know this. I know that Donald Trump is the 47th president of the United States, and he wants to sue a lot of media outlets, and he'd already done that in his first 9 months or 10 months back since being back in office.
All right, so Tony, let me ask you this. The lawsuit says the network has made no showing of meaningful institutional changes to prevent future journalistic abuses. Any thoughts on whether this $10 billion suit will have an overall impact on deterring journalistic abuses against presidents?
Well, I mean, considering the net income of the BBC, I agree with one common analysis over with a CNN panel that would likely bankrupt the network. There's no way that the BBC could actually fundamentally, if ordered to pay those damages, which I doubt they would be. I do expect a settlement. But if they were expected to pay those, I think they might actually have to close their corporate status in the United States. I doubt that actually gets metered out all the way back home to the UK. I think that a broader question here is the BBC actually going to change anything here? And the answer is I don't necessarily believe that they will. And this goes back to the accountability question to Mike. I don't actually see Trump as trying to keep anyone accountable here. I think Trump is mad. I think he watched his people. Some of them made legal mistakes. Some of them didn't. And he's acting accordingly, as many do in this day and age where it's easier to file a lawsuit as to anything else. I think that sometimes we try to, do a little too deep on the analysis of why he's doing something. The man's mad. And again, what was done was particularly egregious. That spites him. He has legal recourse. And so if he has the chess pieces on the board, play ball, to mix the metaphors.
Okay, Mike, let me just get your final thoughts here. You said Trump is suing everybody. Do you think that these lawsuits perhaps act as a deterrent to, media bias or media malpractice of that sort?
Yeah, well, first off, I mean, media outlets should already be combing through things, with a fine-tooth comb, because you could end up in a situation like this. But I think, Michael Eric Dyson once upon a time told me, I hate to be incredibly reductive, but XYZ. And to Tony's point, I mean, there's only one thing you can reduce this to. It's that Trump is mad. I don't agree with some of the things that Tony said there about why he's mad, because we all saw what happened on January 6th. I hate that everyone has a subject to interpretation type thing about this. But be that as it may, the coverage from BBC News and splicing things together, again, I'm a producer. I get it, right? Trump, if we've seen any of these speeches, he rambles, he plays the greatest hits. You're trying to cut a couple things together to make it sound and form, at least harping on the key sentiments that he was trying to reflect of that day so you can push it out. We're all trying to get engaging content. We're not trying to get boring content where Trump rambles on and on and on. We've all seen it. This is not a hot take hour. This is all like we've seen
right.
it. The man
as is the function of any
speech.
Producer.
Right. Exactly right. So you're trying to expedite the process so you don't lose the audience, to sleeping pills, right? So be that as it may, now we're pushing out this content. They're going to have to show in a court that, well, actually, let me show you what the unedited version looks like. So to answer your question, Don, again, is it an accountability thing? I think he's just mad. He's suing everybody. But I think each case has its own merit, and each case at least has given outlets the ability to kind of look and say what was wrong, what was done wrong in that case by ABC News, what was done wrong in this case by New York Times, what was done wrong in this case by BBC News, and let's make sure that funnels to the rest of the newsroom so we don't repeat those mistakes, so we don't end up in court.
Sounds good, and I think we can leave it there for this week. Thank you very much to you both, Tony, Mike.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
The suspect who killed 2 students and wounded 9 others at Brown University remains at large. The FBI is offering a reward of up to $50,000 for information. More news after this break.
Looking for the perfect gift this season? Get a new recliner from Mathis Home during the holiday savings event. They have hundreds of recliners from top brands starting at just $199. Take your pick. These genuine Lazy Boy recliners are holiday priced at just $485. It's your chance to save on the comfort and quality Lazy Boy is famous for, just $485. With our incredible selection, you're sure to find the recliner just right for you. They're all in stock, ready for fast free delivery during the holiday savings event at your furniture superstore, Mathis Home.
All throughout your home, appliances and systems just wait for the worst time to break down and leave you with expensive repairs. Unless you have a plan from Choice Home Warranty.
All home appliances and systems have a breakdown clock, and when it expires, it will cost hundreds and potentially even thousands of dollars to fix or replace. That's why every homeowner should have a plan with Choice Home Warranty, like I do. For a low monthly fee, a Choice Home Warranty plan will cover your heating, air conditioning, plumbing, appliances, and more. Don't let an unexpected repair wreck your budget. With Choice Home Warranty, that covered repair is fixed or replaced for you.
Choice Home Warranty has been a great company to work with, and they've taken care of us. I would suggest anybody who lives in a home not to be in a home without them.
Avoid the ticking clock of home appliances and systems breaking down with a plan from Choice Home Warranty. Call now to get your first month free. Call in the next 10 minutes and we'll give you $120 off your first year of coverage. That's $200 in total savings.
With a nationwide network of over 25,000 technicians, I don't worry about how my next breakdown will be handled. With a click of a button, my claim is filed, and Choice Home Warranty starts the clock. They do the legwork, hiring the right technician and handling the cost of covered repairs and replacements. And check this out. For a limited time, you can get 1 month of coverage free. Did you hear me? Free. You can't beat that deal with a sledgehammer. But hurry, this offer is ticking away. Once the clock hits 0, poof, it's gone.
Don't fear the breakdown clock. Get a plan from Choice Home Warranty and get round-the-clock money-saving protection you can count on. Call in the next 10 minutes and we'll give you $120 off your first year of coverage, plus get your first month free. This offer won't last long.
Get your home protected. Call now.
Don't wait for an appliance or system to break down. Call before that happens. Call 800-983-3523. 800-983-3523.
This is Falicious. Now, what is Fa? It's an authentic Vietnamese noodle dish. The delicious chicken pho brings the comforting, aromatic flavors of Vietnam to your bowl. And Mama Thu's signature spice blend. Well, this chicken pho is as close to homemade as it gets without the wait. Some cubed chicken, a little lime, and then the magic moment. See you soon, my friends.
Felicious is now available at your local Walmart or walmart.com.
Nick Rainer, the son of Rob and Michelle Rainer, could appear in court Tuesday. The 32-year-old was arrested on suspicion of murder after his parents were killed at their Brentwood home. NTD's Christina Corona is live outside the courthouse. Christina, what is the latest?
Good afternoon. That's right. We learned that Nick Rainer did not make a court appearance today. His attorney, Alan Jackson, notified several reporters waiting outside the courthouse that his client has not yet been medically cleared to be transported to court. Nick is currently being held at the Twin Towers facility in downtown Los Angeles without a bail.
Details about who found them or what may have happened in the days leading up to this?
Yes, so TMZ made several reports that Rob and his wife Michelle were scheduled to get massages on Sunday, but once the masseuse wasn't able to enter their residence, she notified their daughter Romy, who lives across the street. And unfortunately, Romy was the one who found her parents' bodies. TMZ also reported that the Rainers attended a holiday party at Conan O'Brien's house with their son Nick, and several attendees who wished to remain anonymous told investigators that they had a heated argument, which may have been part of the timeline that led up to their deaths.
And what can we look forward to, maybe in the next day or two?
Well, prosecutors are reviewing the case, and they have a window to formally file charges. Nick's attorney, Alan Jackson, told reporters today that Nick may make a court appearance as early as Wednesday. And District Attorney Nathan Hochman announced earlier today that he will be providing an update on the case at 1 p.m. local time today.
All right, Christina, thank you very much for updating us. A group is facing conspiracy charges over a foiled bomb plot in the Los Angeles area. The FBI says they were able to stop the group who was trying to make a bomb in the Mojave Desert.
A filed complaint says 4 people were planning to plant explosive devices at 5 locations in the Los Angeles area at midnight on New Year's Eve. The defendants include Audrey Carroll, Zachary Page, Dante Gaffield, and Tina Lai. Carroll and Page allegedly recruited the other 2 defendants to help them carry out the plan. This included getting bomb-making materials and going to a remote area of the Mojave Desert to make and test explosive devices sometime this month. A sworn statement says Carroll shared a document titled Operation Midnight Sun to a paid confidential source, which described the bomb plot. The FBI says agents intervened before they could complete their work and assemble a functional explosive device. Attorney General Pam Bondi described this as a foiled bomb plot. On top of the New Year's Eve bombings, the group is considering going after ICE agents and their vehicles with pipe bombs in January or February. The 4 have been charged with conspiracy and possession of an unregistered destructive device.
Officials are hoping new photos and video will help them find the person responsible for the shooting at Brown University. They're asking the public for help tracking down the gunman as the manhunt enters a 4th day. The FBI is offering a $50,000 reward for information that can lead to an arrest and conviction. Here are the details.
Authorities are ramping up the manhunt for the gunman who opened fire at Brown University on Saturday.
We're asking the public for assistance to be able to identify this individual.
Law enforcement releasing new videos showing a person of interest walking through Providence in the hours before the shooting. A poster released by the FBI describing the suspect as approximately 5'8" with a stocky build.
Hopefully very quickly we can get this person identified, detained, questioned if possible, but certainly he is our primary person of interest right now.
The shooting left 2 students dead, Ella Cook, a student from Alabama, and vice president of the Brown University College Republicans.
I'm just super proud of her and what she was able to accomplish in her short life. I absolutely hate that it was taken away from us so short.
And Mohammed Aziz Umerzakov, described by Vice President J.D. Vance as a brilliant young man who dreamed of becoming a surgeon. 9 others were hurt. Saturday's shooting on Brown's campus has students rattled.
There's no question that this is like anxiety-inducing, and this is like the scariest moment for not just me, but all of my friends.
Hoping for a quick end to the manhunt.
I'm trying not to use the worst language possible that I can to describe this guy, but I hope that, you know, he gets punished to the worst extent possible of the law when he's caught.
With the holiday season approaching and parents preparing for winter breaks with their kids, what are the ways of keeping kids busy and engaged without relying on devices? We bring you expert advice after this break.
We said we'd never give in to a meltdown.
Okay.
And we'd never babysit with a screen. We said we'd never let the toys take over.
Mariella!
Never leave the house looking, well, and never let them out of our sight. Skylar, come here. Cars get hot fast, and kids can be at risk. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
When I arrived in the U.S. at 19, I struggled to find job opportunities without a high school diploma. My name is Ariel, and my entire life changed when I took a chance and I got my high school diploma at age 22. Everything I have, my education, my career, my marriage, I owe to the Adult Literacy Center and my teachers. They were with me every step of the way, helping with my English and math, making sure I pushed through all the challenges. Oh my goodness.
So Ariel, we made this yearbook for you. It has notes from all the people that are here. Your achievement has set an example for so many students. Most importantly, your daughter.
Education was the key that unlocked all my opportunities.
When you graduate, they graduate. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free and supportive adult education centers near you.
For decades, I've taught you everything I know. How to safely build a fire, and how to control the flames. But I can only teach wildfire prevention. Only you can prevent wildfires.
If you love them enough to crawl into a play place to get them to come down, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
The impact of a meal goes well beyond feeding our bodies. Because when people are fed, futures are nourished. And with your help, together we can end hunger. Join the movement at feedingamerica.org/actnow.
There are real consequences to controlled media. And NTD's founders know them firsthand. Our freedom of thought is the price. This is the lesson that guides us in everything we do.
So there's the tear gas there.
We know the value of a free society. And we take seriously
the responsibility to preserve it. We are NTD.
With the holiday season approaching and parents preparing for winter breaks with their kids, what are the ways of keeping kids busy and engaged without relying on devices? With us now to discuss is Kimberly McLeod, creator of the Best Ideas for Kids and author of multiple best-selling craft and activity books. So Kimberly, so good to have you here. You know, sometimes parents might find it hard to keep young children engaged, especially, you know, some with shorter attention spans. So I was wondering if you could give us some ideas. And I see you brought some materials with us here. Maybe you can just describe what is going on here.
Definitely. Okay, well, I have a bunch of ideas here that don't cost a lot of money. You can get most of the supplies from like a dollar store or a craft store and even use some recycled materials. Okay. So the first one here is air dry clay little ornaments. So all you need to do is you roll out the air dry clay and then you can get like a circle cookie cutter and, you know, cut out some circle shapes. And then I just used, you can get cookie stamps, like letter stamps, and I just stamped in, you can do words or names to personalize them, and then just add some twine, and then they dry within, you know, 24 hours. You just let them air dry.
Okay, and I do believe you have crafting ideas for all different age groups.
Yeah.
So maybe we can go through some of them. For example, what do you do with babies 0 to 2 years old?
So babies are a little hard for crafting. If you want to get their footprint and do like a keepsake craft, that's always fun. For someone like a toddler, this is a really fun activity you can do with them. So what I did was here is you just draw some string lights with a black marker, and then you can use a cotton swab and they can either dip in the paint or they can actually add their fingerprints as the lights here. So this is like a fun activity for more of the toddler age. And then for 3 or 4 and above, some of the other ideas here, we've got another favorite is the craft stick snowflake. So all you need to do is glue these craft sticks together, and then they can paint them and decorate them with buttons or pom-poms, glitter if you're okay with glitter, any kind of craft supply. Really easy and fun, this one is.
And you made all these by yourself, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they look pretty professionally made. I mean, the snowflake over there, this one, I mean, it looks incredibly symmetrical.
So this is another cotton swab idea. So really fun because we all have cotton swabs around the house, and then just on the back this is cardboard. I just painted it. And what you can do is just cut up these cotton swabs into different pieces and sizes. And then the best part about this one is that snowflakes come in all different shapes and designs, so kids can have fun kind of seeing all the different unique designs they can make.
So it doesn't have to be as symmetrical as what you did there.
No,
it can be in any shape.
Yeah, they can get creative, and that's the best part about this one is that they can really just kind of try to see how many different snowflake designs they can make.
Well, it's too bad you didn't bring any glue. I would have loved trying to make that with you, but you did bring some beads.
Yep.
And these over here.
So.
And maybe you can show us.
Pipe cleaners.
Right.
Exactly. So these are pipe cleaner candy canes, and the fun thing about this one is you can customize it with words again, or you can add names. So if you want to go ahead and give that a try. So
I'm not very good with my hands, so you'll have to excuse me if I don't make it as
It's
good
really
as...
easy. You just thread it on the beads, and if you've been making friendship bracelets like I have the past year, you might have a lot of these beads handy, so it's a good way to reuse it for the holiday season. And then you can just, you know, add your letter beads to it.
How do you keep it not fall off at the end here?
So at the end, when you're all done, you'll just kind of fold it over
Okay.
And keep folding it to make like almost a little like stopper with the pipe cleaner itself.
Roll it into a little loop type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And then the fun part about making these is they naturally just hang on a tree. You don't even need
That's
a
very
string or
cost
anything.
effective as well. Decorating a Christmas tree this way.
Yeah, so while you're doing that, I'll tell you about the other one here, which is these pop-up cards. We've got a couple different designs, and the fun thing about the pop-up cards is you can glue pretty much anything to them. So you can make this for a birthday or even Valentine's Day. You could add a heart. Any holiday you can make these. So all you need to do is fold over a piece of cardstock, and then on the folded part, you just cut 2 slits about that size, about 2 inches. And then once you have that, you can open it up and you push through the part you cut, and that becomes the pop-out part. And then you just fold it on the bottom here.
Okay, and then
like
you can add kind of designs to the center of that.
Exactly. So
like
now this part you can glue anything to. So you can create anything out of paper, and kids can even make their own drawings, and you can cut that out and glue it to this part of the card. And then when it folds over, when you open it,
hey, I think that might not only be for kids. I feel like adults can make use of this as well if they want to give like a birthday card or any other kind of card. They can try this as well because it folds into a card. You can write stuff in it.
Yeah, you can add a message here and here.
Exactly.
Completely customize it. Fun. All of these activities are fun for adults too.
Can I just ask you, what are the benefits here of these simple crafts for a child's development?
I think just fostering creativity in kids is important, and you know, I think as parents we're always trying to battle, you know, how much screen time that our kids get.
Right. They can be very addictive, screens.
Exactly. So, you know, on my website, I try to offer lots of activities and easy crafts just to have that time away from screens and engage kids in creativity. And, you know, these are samples, but I always encourage parents or anyone trying my crafts to just let the kids take their own spin on it and their own unique creativity angle to whatever they're making.
You know, I would imagine some parents may have concerns about things getting a little bit messy. What do you say to those parents who may be hesitant?
So if you don't like mess, you know, you can avoid things like glitter and paint.
Especially for the younger age group.
Yes. But paper crafts are great. And I like to use glue sticks. They tend to be a little bit less messy. So those kind of crafts, even things like this, where you're just, you know, using pipe cleaner and beads, that's not going to make a ton of a mess. But yeah, look for some paper crafts. There's a lot of printables, coloring pages, different, you know, activities that way that you can print out for them that are mess-free.
And which one of these are your favorite?
Oh, that's hard to pick.
Or ones that are not here that you didn't bring with you.
Yeah, no, if I had to recommend one, I would recommend the candy cane for people to make because it's really fun and easy.
Okay, and they look, I mean, from a distance, they could potentially pass as real candy canes. So for younger kids, I don't know, they may have to be slightly careful with that. Okay, exactly. I want to ask you one more thing because you also have advice for how to keep teens engaged. And some parents may argue that for teens, they're the hardest age group to do this. So what are your advice to parents who's trying to engage with teens?
Yeah, so if you want your teens to get creative, definitely, you know, take from their interests and what they're interested in. Is it painting? Is it, you know, friendship bracelets, or, you know, working with yarn, learning how to crochet? There's a lot of more advanced arts and crafts that you can explore with teens. There's, you know, air dry clay, but you can get more advanced with clay activities and creating kind of your own, you know, pinch pots, that sort of thing. So there's still a lot of opportunity for kids or teens specifically to get creative with crafts. And I wouldn't say it's just for younger kids. And I mean, even adults like to craft too. So it's about finding what they're interested in.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like adults, they all have, to a certain degree, an inner child in them. So I think they would enjoy this once in a while, I would believe. Okay, well, I really appreciate you taking all the effort of bringing this and making this. Thank you for speaking with us. And I think our viewers probably found this very useful.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, pleasure.
All right.
Okay, we'll be taking a quick break now, but we'll be back with more news, so don't go away. Stay tuned.
With Select Specs £6 specs, you can get 10 pairs of prescription glasses for just £60. That includes frames, prescription lenses, and delivery free to your door. And what makes this really special is each pair can have a different prescription. So it's glasses for everyone. SelectSpecs.com/£6. 10 frames, all with prescription lenses and anti-scratch coating for just £60. You don't get that on the high street. Right now you can save an extra 5% with offer code CG5OFF.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our biggest 3-in-1 sale ever with a limited edition product, a back-in-stock special, and a closeout deal you won't find anywhere else. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get our MyPillow bed sheets, only $29.88. Any color, any style, any size, even kings, regular $119.98, only $29.88. Once they're gone for good. How about our My Towels? They're finally back in stock, but not for long. Get a 6-piece My Towel set, regular $69.98, now only $39.98. And for the first time and the only time ever, get our limited edition premium My Pillows. They're made with Giza cotton and designer gusset. Queen $17.98, Kings only $19.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get the best offers ever. Quantities are extremely limited, so order now.
Kids love it. Parents trust it. Obviously. Explore GJW Plus Kids Series and Ganjiong Campus courses led by expert educators. This is spectacular. Children will learn values like respect, responsibility, and knowledge in language, science, and more. Wow. All while having fun. Perfect. Subscribe today at GJW Plus Kids, where learning meets fun.
August was born 3 pounds, 9.8 ounces. When I first saw him, it was like a whole range of emotions, joy, sadness. There's gonna be obstacles. You're gonna feel like, why is it happening to me? And you're gonna realize you're not the only one. There's no perfect way. Your own way will be the perfect way. You're gonna protect it with all your might. Just seeing him happy, it's just joy, you know? I look through his eyes, I envision like a whole future with him already. To throw the first football to him, give him ice cream for the first time. Oh man, he could smile now. I'm happy because he's advancing in life, you know? He's growing. Being a young dad, it's not giving up, it's shifting. My life is now devoted to his life.
A Chinese whistleblower being tracked on American soil by the communist regime years after he fled China. The former Chinese regime official says some of the tools that the CCP is using are developed right here in the U.S. Here's the story.
Former Chinese regime official Li Chuanyang fled China for the U.S. in 2018 and publicly cut ties with the Communist Party 2 years later. Since then, he says the surveillance hasn't stopped.
They used their power overseas and got Interpol to issue a red notice, making it impossible for me to move around.
Li said a man he believes to be a CCP agent has followed him across state lines in recent months. He says the Chinese regime can trace people through phones, payments, travel records, as well as personal contacts. And all of this was happening on U.S. soil. Regarding why he left China, Li and the Chinese regime had different narratives on the situation. Li says he left China because he could no longer tolerate the corruption of other officials. He once reported his city's party secretary to hire authorities for corrupt practices, but Chinese state-backed courts accused him of corruption, costing hundreds of millions of dollars. They are charges that Li and his lawyers say are politically motivated. Unlike many other former senior CCP officials who came to the U.S. after retiring and lived quiet lives, Li spoke publicly, criticized corruption, and focused on exposing abusive Chinese regime officials. Beijing officials also went after Li's family and friends to apply pressure on him overseas.
A lot of my partners were arrested one by one.
More than 40 of Li's relatives and friends in China, including his pregnant daughter, have been detained. Li says he has lost contact with them and still doesn't know the full details of the accusations. Beijing's overseas surveillance campaigns, known as Operation Foxhunt and Skynet, rely on technology developed by U.S. firms. It includes software that taps into and records messages, finances flights, and phone calls.
The development of China's technology to this point, especially surveillance, is definitely closely linked to Western countries, especially American high-tech companies. Simply put, they couldn't have done it without their technological support.
Chinese state media says more than 14,000 nationals have been forced back to China worldwide through pressure and intimidation. The FBI calls China's retaliation against people in the U.S. unacceptable, and the White House says it will pursue any violations of U.S. law.
Tourists and locals gathered in Spain today for the 20th edition of the Sand Nativity Scene. The event on Gran Canaria Island featured sand sculptures by artists from across the world. NTD's Andrew Thomas has the details.
Over the last several weeks, Spain's Las Canteras beach became a sandy canvas. Sculptors from different countries worked carefully to craft incredible nativity scenes ahead of Christmas. Sand Nativity director Adai Rodriguez said the event drew a range of talent.
10 artists participated. They are from Australia, Vietnam, United States, Canada, Czech Republic, and local Spanish artists who are top level. I've seen sand sculptors from all over, and I think Echuel, Spanish sand sculptor Echuel Ojeda, for me is still the best in the world.
Rodriguez said the event went well, but Storm Amelia threatened the sculptures over the weekend. The weather forced organizers to reschedule the event's opening date.
We had a super strong storm with a lot of wind and water. We faced several problems, which makes it all the more commendable, and it made us enjoy today's opening even more. A lot of people are coming in.
A local family has organized Sand Nativity since 2006. This year's event drew around 260,000 visitors over 40 days. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
A U.S. military vessel is docking in the southern Puerto Rican port. And this is amid tension in the Caribbean Sea. More news after this break.
Performance that truly matters for each and every one of us. This is what you've been waiting for. See it at least once in your lifetime. Shen Yun. Get tickets now at shenyun.com.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
They're just young people, hungry, homeless, and vulnerable. Covenant House is helping young adults facing homelessness. We're providing safe shelter to thousands, but the need is overwhelming. Please call or go online now. With your gift of $19 a month, we'll send you this blanket as a reminder of the comfort your gift provides a young person tonight. You'll provide safe shelter, hot meals, and medical care. Call the number on your screen or go online to safeplacetosleep.org.
I'm Jonathan Lawson. If you're 50 to 85, please listen closely. The lock I want to talk to you about isn't the one on your door. It's a rate lock for your life insurance that guarantees that once you're insured, your rate can never go up at any time for any reason. Many policies you see don't have one, but you can get a lifetime rate lock from Colonial Penn. This plan was designed for people on a fixed income with coverage options that start at $9.95 a month. That's less than 35 cents a day. Your rate is locked in for life. Coverage can never be canceled, and your acceptance is guaranteed. You cannot be turned down because of your health. See for yourself. Call for an information kit and gift. Both are free with no obligation.
Call 1-800-624-6556 for your free information.